So now we're going to go ahead and divide rational functions. You can see that I have x squared plus 2x plus 1 divided, over x squared minus 3x minus 18, and that's going to be divided by x squared minus 1 over x squared minus 7x plus 6. Like everything in rational functions, the first thing we want to do before we even mess with the division symbol and worried about the rules of dividing with fractions is we're going to factor everything. So I'm going to look at my top here, x squared plus 2x plus 1, and that's going to factor to x plus 1 times x plus 1. I'm not going to write it as x plus 1 squared just because. If I need to write it that way, then I will. Then the bottom is going to factor, let's see, factors of 18, that's going to be 3 and 6 will give me 3. So I'm going to do x minus 6, x plus 3. That gives me a negative 18 and negative 3, so I'm factored there. Then I'm going to go ahead and divide by, well, x squared minus 1 is a difference of two squares. That's pretty easy to factor. We have x plus 1, x minus 1, and that's going to be over, let's see, x squared minus 7x plus 6. That's going to be x minus 6, x minus 1. So now I have everything fully factored. From here, I want to take a quick look, and I want to see, okay, I've got a negative 6, a positive 3, a negative 6, and a positive 1. And I know as of right now, my x cannot equal, let's see, a 6, a negative 3, a 6 I already have, and a 1. Okay, now that I have that in there, let's go ahead and actually do the division part. If you remember from middle school, when you divide fractions, you are going to keep your first function, or your first x plus 1, all over x minus 6, x plus 3. Now we're going to change the division sign to multiplication, and we're going to take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we're going to have x minus 6 over x minus 1, all over x plus 1, x minus 1. Yeah. All right, now let's just take a look and see what we can do. With the multiplication, we're always allowed to simplify. So the first thing I'm going to look for is I'm going to go up and down. And I want to see, is there anything in common that I can simplify? Well, on this first fraction, x plus 1 on top doesn't have anything that matches on the bottom, so I can't simplify. Over here, I have x minus 6, x minus 1, x plus 1, x minus 1. I can get rid of my x minus 1s. So now the second fraction just becomes x minus 6 over x plus 1. Now from here, I can look at my diagonals also. I can look and see, okay, I have an x plus 1 and x plus 1, and on the diagonal going this way, I have another x plus 1. So this goes away, this bottom becomes a 1, and one of these goes away. Same thing here. I can do a diagonal here. I see I have an x minus 6 and an x minus 6. So this goes away, and this goes away. So this actually, the whole thing simplifies. This becomes a 1. This whole thing simplifies down to x plus 1 over x plus 3. So this whole thing right here, when we divide, is this. Now we have to look at our domain, but we have to be careful. We already figured this part out, but if you remember, I had to flip this fraction. So I need to look at this. I have a, this needs to be negative 1 and a positive 1. I have a positive 1, so I need to add a negative 1 to my domain restriction. So since this is my simplest form, there are 4 numbers here that it cannot be. So when we write our domain, we're going to say that our domain is the set of all x's such that x is an element of my real numbers and x cannot equal these numbers. Negative 3, negative 1, 1, and 6. And you're done. The key to all of this is you've got to be able to simplify, simplify, simplify. Hi, I'm Mr. Buzzard, and I'm making these videos as supplemental instruction for my students. If you found these videos actually informative or they answer the question you're looking for, make sure you hit the like button, and then don't forget to subscribe and then click the bell to receive notifications for future instructional math videos.